So here I was discussing about the fall of Bastille. So what happens, this is representing the fall of ancient regime in France. Despite of the recognition granted to the National Assembly, there existed the trust issues between the king and the common man. At several occasions, the king tried to suppress this National Assembly and he took a number of measures which irked the National Assembly, such as dismissing Hector, the finance minister who was selected or elected, you can say, by the common will or by the concept of popular sovereignty by the people, right? Subsequently, what happened, the common public of Paris, it became infuriated and it violently stormed the different parts of the Paris city. Now the enraged public, it stormed a state prison, okay, which is known as Bastille, upon the suspicion that it had the storehouse of the king. Now the prison over here is representing the dictatorial power of the monarch, okay, and the mob, it murdered the guards and it freed the prisoners. Now this event is known as basically your fall of Bastille. First was formation of National Assembly. How? Oath at tennis court. Second, fall of Bastille. Now, the peasants, they raised the banner of protest against the nobles by attacking their houses, their kettles throughout the city of Paris. They also burned the record of feudal services which the nobles provided. Now understand what is this representing, that the common man is showing his resentment against the luxury which was prevalent amongst the nobles, and they had lot of complaints against, apart from the king, again towards the feudal lords also, because these feudal lords were the one who were taxing the peasants, right? So the fall of Bastille, it was considered as a symbol of independence and a triumph of liberty, and a date 14 July, okay, it was declared as a national day. Now tricolor flag of red, white and blue was declared as a national flag of France. So on 4th of August 1789, the nobles voluntarily surrendered their feudal rights, and over here we see officially abolishment or end of feudalism and serfdom system which started during the Dark Ages. What was it? That the whole land was divided into multiple pockets and each person was having his own army. He was taxing, right? The taxation power majorly. That system had been totally been abolished by this time after the incidents of fall of Bastille. Another incident over here was women's march to Versailles. What was in Versailles? There was a palace. So in 5th October 1789, France was already facing food crisis, right? Because of the poor harvest and bread shortages. Definitely it was already going through a lot of financial crisis because of the war it was fighting with Britain. So what happened? The women of Paris, they marched to the palace of Versailles and they wanted bread, a basic commodity. So they forced the queen, king and their son to move to Paris, bringing the monarchy under the public pressure, right? So these 5 major incidences, we will see that how it leads to formation of France as being a republic state. Okay. apart from this, let's very quickly see the functioning of National Assembly. Okay. So National Assembly was formed by third estate, right? Where they took a oath at tennis court. They transformed over here itself into a constituent assembly, and since they were inspired by American Revolution, they wanted a written constitution. So they were interested with drafting a new constitution for France. Its work laid down the foundation of the still it is not completely constitutional, right? Initially it was monarchy, now it is constitutional monarchy, and then it will be republic, right? So it laid the foundation of the constitutional monarchy. Let's very quickly see what were the features. Declaration of rights of men and the citizens, guaranteeing fundamental rights such as liberty, equality, and fraternity, asserted sovereignty, right? That it was with the nation and not with the king. Abolition of feudal privileges, this we had seen after fall of Bastille. Titles and privileges of the nobles, they were completely abolished. Yes. Feudalism and serfdom officially ended, right? They had a limited constitutional monarchy. Monarchy was retained, but the powers were limited by the constitution. King's authority again was checked by the elected representative. In judicial restructuring, because all these were nobles of robe, right? There was judicial restructuring, yes. There was torturous judicial practices, all these were abolished. New central and lower courts were established, judges to be elected and not appointed, right? Initially the king was selling the posts. Religious reforms, secularism, right? French model of secularism basically we study, where separation of church is from the state. Absolute religious tolerance introduced. Church properties nationalized to raise the state revenue, right? Tithe was totally abolished. Electoral and administrative changes were there. Poll tax was introduced, and voting right, over here you can see it was given, but again it was restrictive because the servants were barred from voting, ensuring the dominance of the wealthy middle class still in the functioning of the government. So after completing the constitution, the National Assembly itself dissolved, right? Handing over the power completely to the Legislative Assembly. So you can very well clearly see here that how the order of sequence was that a State General's meeting was held in May 1789. Now, because Third Estate was not allowed, then it themselves declared as the National Assembly who will create a constitution for France, and they take an oath at the tennis court, and violently they march into state's prison that was in Bastille. And after this, the women's, they march into the palace of Versailles, right, asking for bread. And all this, ultimately, the National Assembly creates a constitutional. Now, this leads to formation of constitutional monarchy. Still, monarchy has not been removed. It leads to the constitutional monarchy in France. So this is for today. Tomorrow we'll see how this constitutional monarchy further moves towards leading to formation of republic state in France.